welcome to episode number 8 of Wednesdays with WV. This is an episode where we'll be talking about the Bumrah buzz. It's what I call, because a lot of things have been spoken about Bumrah, the reasons why he's got injured, the reasons why generally fast bowlers get injured, and what is it that needs to be done to prevent injuries, so on and so forth. As usual, I would like you people to log on to the handles of the Sports Star and the Hindu to catch up on the previous episodes, because we are putting out a lot of good stuff on both these handles. So let's get to this episode straight away. Generally, the fast bowlers are susceptible to back injuries. That's because of the effort that they put in while bowling. It's not an easy thing, fast bowling. Like Tiger Woods once observed, they run in one direction, suddenly change directions, they jump and then deliver the ball, which means a lot of unnatural movements come into play. That being the case, fast bowlers will always have a problem, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of scientific principles are being considered when coaches talk about fast bowling and the principles of fast bowling. Bumrah by no means has got a conventional action, because he's got an unusual action, as everybody is aware. So it's all the more reason for him to be more vulnerable than the others. Now, what do you think are conventional ways of delivering a cricket ball by a fast bowler? There are three recognized actions, as it were. One is the classical side-on, which has been passed down from one generation to another since this game started. Then when in the 80s, people saw a lot of West Indies fast bowlers bowl in a slightly different way. They did a lot of research, and then they said, yes, the open-chested action is something that can also be acceptable, and is also a model that can be followed by aspiring fast bowlers. And then you have the mixed action. Yes, that is where people run into trouble, as you cannot have one half of the body going in one direction and the other half of the body going in a different direction, which means that if you look at some bowlers, they would have the lower body side on and the upper body, going away in the other direction, which puts a lot of pressure on the back. But that is how it is. There are quite a few bowlers who have done extraordinarily well with unconventional bowling actions, like Bumrah has done all these years, and we have seen Lasith Malinga do that. But the long and short of it is that whether you have a conventional action or an unconventional action, fast bowlers will be susceptible to injuries, especially the back injuries, because of the tremendous amount of effort that they put into their bowling. Remodeling an action is totally left to the bowler, and that also can be considered as the last option, because a bowler starts bowling in his own particular style and then he continues to do so for a few years, and until and unless he gets injured or he feels the necessity to remodel the action, I don't think any bowler will be convinced to change his action. The remodeling of action came into play a long time ago when Dennis Lillee got injured. At that point, he was told that he may not be able to play cricket ever again, but he challenged, being the competitive man that he was, the competitive fast bowler that he was. He challenged the doctors, and then he also had a lot of help from various experts in the medical field. And then what happened was they found out that the injury was due to the way he was running into bowl and the way he was setting himself up to bowl on his delivery stride, and that was attributed, the injury was attributed to all those elements in his style of fast bowling. So what he did was that he first went into a rehab program, got himself fitter and stronger. Then he had to completely remodel his action. Of course, the remodeled action was fantastic. It was like a Rolls Royce. It was so smooth. It had everything close to perfection. The way he ran and the way he accelerated, the delivery stride and the release, the follow through, the various principles that go into fast bowling. So that is how everybody got to know that injuries can occur due to a different kind of action if it is not close to what it should be. And After Dennis Lilly remodeled, there have been a few instances where people realized that yes, a severe back injury need not necessarily mean the end of anybody's career. Why go that far? In fact, our own Lakshmipati Balaji went through this particular process wherein he sustained an injury. He had a lower back injury, and then he had to undergo an operation as well. After that, again, he had to remodel his action completely. And then he made a comeback. He played for a good period of 8 to 10 years after his surgery. So the thing is that there have been many examples of where people have remodeled their actions because they have pushed into doing that. It was the last resort. And after remodeling their action, yes, they have played for quite a long period of time. But as far as Bumrah is concerned, yes, like I said before, when somebody has his unique way of bowling, nobody would venture into asking him or her to change the action, because why try and fix something which is not broken? That's the attitude that's taken, which is not wrong at all. Yes, people can ask as to why you have to wait until he gets injured. But again, if somebody were to tinker and if somebody were to try and force him to bowl with a conventional action, he may not have been the bowler that he is being. That's another danger a bowler runs into. That's another danger that a coach should consider. So it was generally felt that the biggest help that the entire system did to Bumrah was not to try and make him change his action. We've had Lasith Malinga play for a long time without really breaking down for too long or shortening his career as a result of injuries. So there will be an exception to the rule, and Bumrah was always considered as an exception to the rule in terms of the fast bowling technique and also in terms of adhering to the principles of fast bowling. I was a part of the NCA. I was there for 2.5 years, and I can say with a lot of conviction about the procedures that are followed there. Yes, all these procedures are subject to change depending on the nature of injuries and also depending on the demands of the team management and also depending on the kind of treatment and rehab procedures that are required. To cut a long story short, or to try and make it clearer to the fans, what happens is that in the immediacy of an injury, the player goes to the specialist and then he'll get assessed or diagnosed by the specialist, and then he would suggest the way forward. If it requires a procedure, a long-drawn procedure of rehab, then he is sent to the NCA. There are a team of physiotherapists who are there, who are settled in Bangalore and who are there full-time. They will follow the advice of the specialist and then they will start the rehab program. And then what happens there is they work in unison with the trainer, and then they try and ensure that the player gets fit. Then once the physiotherapist and the trainers feel that the player can comfortably sort of take the workload in terms of training and also in terms of the movements getting better, compared to what it was before the bowler sustained the injury, bowler or batter, whoever it is, before the cricketer sustained the injury. They would then suggest to the head of operations or the head coach there that this player is fit to return to play. Then what happens after that is that he is made to go through the nets, wherein he'll be asked to bowl a few deliveries. If he's a fast bowler, he'll be asked to bowl a few bounces, he'll be asked to bowl a few yorkers and stuff like that, so that they can see, because all these deliveries require different amounts of effort. A yorker is not the same as a bouncer, and a stock deliveries are not the same as a bouncer or a yorker in terms of the effort that the bowler has to put in. So once the bowler is made to go through all these rigors, then the head coach will convey to the Indian team management that this particular cricketer is fit to play. So then it's up to them. During Anil Kumble's period, what used to happen was that he was of the view that the players, once they are ready to play, it always is going to be better for them to play a game or two so that everybody gets a far better idea as regards how match fit or how his cricketing fit is then after the rehab program is completed. Now, this perhaps had a little bit of a practical issue because there is no chance of domestic cricket happening right through the year. International cricket happens almost all through the year. So, what happens when there is no domestic cricket at all happening? Then you have no chance of making a cricketer play a game at all, which means that that was a little bit of an issue. Uh, but again, I can say with a fair deal of conviction that sometimes a known devil is better than an unknown angel, is what is adhered to. By that I mean, if a Bumrah is about, for example, is 70% fit, and if there's a major event that needs to be played, I think the team management would tend to feel that we can manage, we can see how best we can make use of the 70% Bumrah rather than a raw hand like a Umran Malik or somebody. I'm just saying this as an example. I'm not saying this is how things generally happen. There are times that such calls are taken. Yes, there was one discussion that I had during Anil Kumle's time with him was that there was one particular gap I felt that existed once the physiotherapist felt that the player is ready to play. Like I said, once the physiotherapist feels the player is ready to play, when a player is made to go through his cricketing a regimen, then he went back into the Indian team. Again, there was a gap in the sense that when he did all those cricketing activities, there is a chance that the player might immediately sustain the same injury that he recovered from. For example, a fast bowler, if he is going to come out of a rehab program fully fit and he goes back to play and he bowls with the same action that he bowled before getting injured, and if that action was the reason why he got injured, then you have a problem, because by muscle memory he's going to go back to bowling with the same action that he did before he sustained the injury. That is where I felt that they needed to be supervised and monitored, and also bring in the cricket coach who's there, so that he, along with the physiotherapist, can again see what kind of fitness levels that they find the cricketer after he plays cricket, once the physiotherapist finds that a cricketer is ready to play. There is no saying as far as injury or as to what workload a bowler can take or at which point a bowler will break down. I was working with Balaji when he broke down, and him coming back to cricket, or him coming back to playing cricket and gaining some confidence was a long-term project, because I think it took about 1.5 years for him to go through all these procedures, starting off with this surgery and then his rehab, and then gradually gaining confidence in his remodeled action, then bowling as quick as he could, which is definitely not as quick as he was before he broke down with the injury. Now, even at that point, even though there are a lot of specialists like a biomechanist, a trainer, and then this orthopedic surgeon, everybody was involved when he was trying to make a comeback. So even then, there was no saying as to when Lakshmipathy Balaji would break down or would he ever play cricket, was something that nobody could answer with any kind of conviction then. So what I'm trying to get at is that it's impossible for anybody to say with any iota of certainty that this is how much that Bumrah can do. So it's totally up to the individual. We got to really try and wait it out. There's no need to speculate, and speculation is not going to help anybody, especially Bumrah. What he needs right now is all the help that he can get in every which way possible, medically and psychologically and various other ways. If the coaches see a young fast bowler bowling with a slightly different action than they're used to seeing, they should not immediately jump onto the wagon and say, no, this is not the way to do it. You know, it is also very important that the coaches have to wait it out and see, and also try and wait until the opportune moment after assessing a cricketer completely in every respect possible. Now, the ideal bowling action would be that where all the major muscles in the body are acting in a coordinated manner and they are moving rather smoothly, and they're sharing the effort of a ball being delivered at 140 plus. That's the ideal situation. There are some bowlers who would use one particular part of the body more, for example, a shoulder more, or they'll try and sort of use their hips and rotate a little bit more than the others. So these are things that happen because there's no chance of two cricketers or two fast bowlers having identical action. So that's impossible. Every fast bowler will have his own style, and there will be a lot of variables. But in terms of managing the workload, yes, the coaches can get into it. But again, that also has to be done after paying a lot of attention, after studying the cricketer a lot. And also, we also have to ensure that workload management is not taken to the extreme of not allowing the talented cricketer to do enough repetitions wherein he can become an expert or a professional. That's another thing. There needs to be a balance struck here. Coordination is extremely important because the players, as you rightly pointed out, they go through a lot of physiotherapists during the course of the year, and they also generally go through a lot of other coaches who handle them. But the critical aspect is in keeping the flow of communication going. That is the most important thing, because what happens here is that when a cricketer sustains an injury, when he goes to, let's say, for example, X, who's the physiotherapist who's attending to him, who started his rehab process, and then he might have to get into a different setup. Now, here, what is important is that X must convey to Y, who the player is passed on to, because the IPL is started, for example. He's got to try and convey to Y as to what has been going on with this particular player in the preceding 4 months or 5 months, or the period of time during which X was working on the player's rehab. This becomes very critical. And also, we all are aware, human tendencies will always be there. A player might prefer A to B in terms of his rehab being handled. Yes, A might be the one that the system wants him to be attached to, but the player might feel that B is always somebody who knows his body better, and his body is responded better to the treatment meted out by B. Then again, it becomes very critical for a player to convey in a very, very polished manner and a polite manner as to why he prefers B, without insulting the A or the system or the people who make up the system. Yes, these days the administration and the team managers are a lot more open to a player going to be treated wherever he feels comfortable, and to whoever he feels comfortable with, and whoever he thinks can handle his injury management better. Along those lines, things are different now. It's not what it used to be some decades ago. So the player must be very, very open about what it is that he's looking to do, and who is it that he would seek help from. One way of looking at it is that it's not happened as the Indian team was in the middle of its campaign in the World Cup. Yeah, it's very unfortunate it's happened to Bumrah, one of the leading performers. Yeah, fantastic match winner. Yes, we will definitely miss him. There's no two ways about it. But why I said what I said to start off with is because now that everybody is clear that unfortunately Bumrah is not going to be available, the team management can sit and plan. Let's not forget that, yes, one individual will contribute a lot more than the other at times, but it's also a situation where, especially in a T20, anybody can be a match winner. And it's all about contributions coming from all quarters, all members of the side. That's when we've always done well. That's when we won the World Cups that we won. If you look at it, for example, in a bowl out, you had a Robin Uthappa, making his mark. In the '83 World Cup, if you see, I was talking obviously in the last episode, Sandeep Partners talking about everybody making a contribution. In 2011, the same thing happened as well. Dhoni was really not among runs there. He walks out in the final and plays a fabulous innings. So it's important for contributions to come from everybody. The team management aware as to what they need to do now. So along those lines, they got to have a little bit of a shift in their plans, yes, which is forced upon them. And I'm sure they'll come up with it. And we got quite a lot of talented cricketers waiting in the wings. I don't think that aspect will create a lot of problems. We do have people who can be drafted in, who can perform. That is very important. It's not just a case of getting somebody in to fill the slot. It's a situation where we have bowlers who can come and contribute towards the team's cause. There it was, all about fast bowling, injuries, how injuries happen, what can be done to reduce injuries. I think that was fairly exhaustive. I hope you enjoyed the chat. And as usual, keep sending in your comments and your feedback. And until I meet you next time, take care and be good.